there, bibliophiles and those raising bibliophiles. Without ratings and warning labels, knowing which books are appropriate for your children to read is like navigating wild terrain without a map and a compass. I don't know about you, but I have been burned more than once handing my child a book that I thought was clean and appropriate for them to read. I'm a fellow mom, educator, reading specialist, and literary enthusiast trying to find great books for my children and yours to read. So if you're looking for a real review from a mom with a biblical worldview, then welcome and enjoy this week's book review. So this week's book review is Operation Echovoid by Rob Baddorf, and this is book 6 in the A Sneaky Ink Spy Adventure series. Robin, Chad, Anika, and Isabel, along with Mia and Zeke, are on a mission to shut down Spark AI, but there is a new challenge. Spark has moved himself to the International Space Station and somehow managed to turn local technology against its users. Continuing to work together as a team, the boys split from the girls, and each with a different angle and mission are seeking to take down Damien Crow, who is aiming to destroy AI and pretty much all technology with his EMPs that he has put into a Dragon capsule to launch into outer space to then be detonated around the world. So before I go much further with more information about this book and its review, I'm going to read just a little bit of the opening to you, just like I've done with some of the other books to kind of give you an idea. If you are new to this book series, this will definitely be helpful. As a deep sleeper, Robin depended on his alarm clock. If he forgot to set it the night before, there was always the possibility he wouldn't get up. Not until noon, maybe even later. In his dream, he was with his father again, sitting on the edge of the dock by Mr. Demaric's pond, fishing. In the dream, they didn't talk. They didn't need to. Just being together was enough. And that was especially comforting now that Robin was out of his league, in over his head. Where did the days of slipping into an office simply to take a photo of accounting records go? Or planting a bug in a conference room fern? Robin couldn't handle this. Didn't want to even if he could. He was merely a pebble between two giants, philosophies bigger than he could hold. He simply wanted to go back to the little things, like fishing beside his dad. Of all the days to forget to set his alarm, this was one of them. Only he couldn't understand why his friends were in the dream as well. Chad, Isabella, and Anika, just standing there in front of him, shaking him. Robin, what are you still doing in bed? Chad barked. This is no time to be sleeping. Robin sat up, blinking. His friends didn't disappear. The girls giggled. Robin sat up and swung his legs out and onto the floor. He glanced over at his mirror. His pajamas were wrinkled, and the buttons running down the middle of them had pulled closer to his arm. One side of his hair stood up. Rubbing an eye, he mumbled, What are you guys doing here and so early? Did I miss something? Early? Isabella laughed. Seriously, don't you know what time it is? Anika didn't wait for a response. She stepped forward, holding out a duffel bag for Robin to take. More importantly, she said in a sober voice, Do you have any idea what's happening outside? Robin shook his head and grabbed the bag handles. Struggling to his feet, he edged closer to the window. Gripping the blind, he lifted it up. The sun was already high in the sky, and there was a car out in the middle of the street, which wasn't all that unusual, only his brain wasn't fully processing. It took a second longer than usual to realize that the car was upside down and on fire. Smash! Like a slap across his face, the sound of breaking glass somewhere outside jolted Robin fully awake. What? What? It's the end of the world, Chad announced, as if he were casually talking about the weather. Armageddon, the apocalypse. Pick whatever you like the most. Hopefully it's not quite that bad, Isabella jumped in, but it certainly looks that way. You should have seen the trouble we had trying to get here. So that kind of gives you a little bit of the opening of the story as we are kind of jumping in. And you notice at the beginning that you see Robin kind of having this dream with his father, and you're going to see this kind of recurring throughout this particular installment of the story as Robin keeps thinking about his relationship with his father, who, if you have not seen or followed anything with this series before, all the way in book 1, it really opens with his father's funeral. So Zeke, Chad, and Robin, as they have kind of separated from the girls, their goal is to disrupt the Dragon capsule launch from its site. Mia, Anika, and Isabella aim to get inside the mission control to stop the launch from the mission control room. So both have to overcome personal challenges and obstacles that force them to rely on each other and God. Without giving too much of the fast-paced story away, Chad and Robin end up inside the Dragon capsule and launch into outer space. Fortunately, using spacesuits as a previous disguise, they're somewhat prepared for their encounter. Realizing that the capsule was programmed for an Axiom station location, they manually end up moving to the ISS to deal with Spark. However, Spark is not going to go down quietly. He attacks Chad and Robin, leaving them with desperate and a difficult situation. Ultimately, Robin has a vision and realizes the sacrifice that he has to make. He manages to get Chad away safely, and he confronts Spark AI alone. In the end, as a spoiler, he does manage to detonate the EMPs that are surrounding the ISS and destroy Spark AI for good. However, he is also now left floating alone in space, losing oxygen and consciousness. Robin is miraculously saved by another person who he soon identifies as his father, who died in the opening of the series, like I mentioned. Robin is then surprised at the end when he awakens in a hospital and he hears a suspected story of how he arrived back on Earth and was found, but he also never reveals that he believes he saw his father and that is who actually saved him. The end of the story, Robin is finding a precious buffalo nickel that is related to a story that Robin had told Chad earlier in the story. So while Chad and Robin are circling space, Mia, Anika, and Isabella are dealing directly with Damien Crowe and his mercenaries. The girls manage to hack the system, but soon found out, and then they end up getting zip-tied by the mercenaries and left in a Mars display at the NASA station. Part of their capture resulted from Isabella being tricked by Spark when she was trying to find him and his replicated files in a server. However, Spark was really tricking her the whole time, and so that lost time resulted in a difficult situation, particularly for Mia, who's held at gunpoint more than once in the novel, and she does suffer some injuries from the mercenaries. In a second attempt to stop Damien, Anika travels through the ventilation with an Ethernet cord, trying to find a place to plug in so Isabella can do her work to disrupt Damien and Spark. Unfortunately, she falls through the system right behind Damien in his private office. If not for noise-canceling headphones, their attempt at stopping him would have been foiled. Cutting to the point of it, she does manage to be successful, and Isabella slows Spark down with complicated math problems and theories that really eat up his processing and ends up helping Robin, though neither of them are talking and know any of this is taking place at the same time. If you go to my website at holdingsteadfastreaders.com, you are going to find a few additional notes and quotes that I think were worth kind of pulling out from the text. In the end, all is well and Spark is no more. Robin is healing, and how Chad actually returns to Earth is not quite explained in detail, but kind of assumed that the protected capsule from the Dragon capsule that he was in really protected and helped him. The FBI and CIA work together and show up in the nick of time to help the girls. If your readers, like I said, have followed the series thus far, they are definitely going to enjoy the latest installment with all the action. Parents, if you are new to this series, I highly recommend books 1 through 6 that are in this series. You're going to appreciate that it's a clean story. There are clear biblical themes as the characters are learning to pray through difficult situations, and they're relying on the Lord's prompting and timing. Ultimately, again, it's a great series that has positive messages that really orient your readers' hearts towards truth. If you have a child who is more of a struggling reader, or they are struggling with attention and engagement with reading, then I actually think this would be a great series to kind of introduce them. The details are not exhaustive. They are kind of what's necessary. The action keeps moving quickly. The chapters are shorter. And so those are going to give struggling readers like an easy win and goals that can kind of boost student success. So if you're looking for a series that is clean, engaging, especially for male readers, and is going to move quickly, then I definitely encourage you to check out the Sneaky Spy Adventure. And so this kind of finishes out book 6 for that series. And I hope that this has been helpful to you as parents who are trying to find great things for your children to read. And I hope that you join me next week for another book review.